Hello and welcome to the British Sitcom History Podcast. You are about to listen to part 2 of our discussion on Are You Being Served? If you have not listened to part 1 yet, do go back and check that out. We've already talked about quite a few of the actors and some of the cultural history behind the show. The episode we're looking at is Series 5, Episode 4. It's the one where they go American. But if you're all caught up, then let's jump back into our discussion on the episode right now.
Okay, well, look, I tell you what, we as I say, we're still about less than 90 seconds into our episode. We are covering a lot of ground here. So we were talking about the shop floor. There's a little altercation over here. There's a little altercation over there. But we haven't had Mr. Granger, so he just comes in and gets I can't even remember what it is, but it's a minor telling off from Captain Peacock, and he does a sort of Tim from The Office face pull at being told off. Yeah. So, and that's it. That's all he gets here, which is fairly typical. He is he's the one who gets the least to do in most of these episodes. But while we've got him on screen, let's talk about Mr. Granger. So he's the sort of senior tailor, isn't he? And he is senior. He's an old man.
Yes, so he's the senior, and in the hierarchy of the world that we're dealing with, it's dead man's boots. You know, you got to dive someone has to die for you to move up, or they retire. And Mr. Granger, we have a few episodes dealing with the concept of him retiring, or then choosing not to, and that sort of thing. And he's supposed to be, well into his 60s, retirement age.
Mm. He's a bit doddery.
Yes, yeah, he is, and he is the sort of slightly forgetful, and he's not quite as sharp as he used to be, but he's still a good salesman, and he knows how to do the job.
He also sits in a very odd position in the hierarchy, not in the hierarchy, but in the class system of which I have become hyper aware, because he is a grunt. He is one of the workers, but he's got that seniority. Perhaps carries a bit more respect for authority. There's an episode called Coffee Morning where there's a bit of industrial action, and they decide to work to rule. And he becomes the kind of reluctant leader of that. He doesn't really want to be, but he feels like it's his duty to be on to lead his team, And I kind of respected that,
Respect is a good word, I think, because he's slightly selfish sometimes in the sense of like he's going to get the first dib on the sales and get the best commission, all that.
That's seniority, mate. That's
it's
how it
seniority.
Works.
It's not selfishness. It's just like, well, I've earned it. I've done the years. And I did my years as a junior, and now you have to do as well. And there's just that little bit of pomposity, but it's not like Captain Peacock. He's just part of the system. He's never going to be strong enough to kind of challenge it, and he doesn't want to. Mm-hmm. He's just doing my years, and I've nearly done. I just need to get out. I'd retire now, but then I'd have to live with my wife, and so I'm not going to do that.
That would be awful.
But I think a really nice presence, and a kind of, like you're saying, a kind of a good middle presence of all these characters.
What about the actor then? Who plays Mr. Granger?
Arthur Bruff, who retirement age when he took the role, yeah. So he's had a whole life before this, and it's a bit like Leonard Pierce in Only Fools and Horses. It was like just about basically ready to retire, and suddenly has more fame than they've ever had before. And just sort of try and make.
So he's not been anything particularly noteworthy in his younger life.
I tell you what, he was noteworthy, not necessarily because you know him acting and stuff, but he ran rep theatre companies. He was a producer and acted in them as well. But he was much more hands-on and making things happen. Let me just sort of read you this. When I was reading a biography of him, it said married a fellow actor, and it says they used the dowry from the marriage to set up a theatre company.
Wow.
Now, when did dowry start? I thought that was like 18th century or something. How old is this guy? Come on. He did serve in the war. He was serving in the Navy. But apart from that, he was a rep actor and producer. And he had a company called the Arthur Bruff Players. So, he got his name on the thing. And I think it was him and his wife, they ran the companies and they set up rep companies all over the country. And really his reputation was being a lot of young actors came through his companies and he shepherded people through, and he was generally received as a really great guy to work for and a supportive kind of elder statesman of the industry who would help people through and help develop people in rep things. That kind of wound up in the late 60s. Yep. Rep theatre was winding up, and apparently I think it was his daughter was talking about this, but he himself recognized that TV was going to kill rep theatre. And so he styled himself to just try and get some TV work. He recognized that his acting was stage acting, and very stagey acting it was. And so he was like, right, I need to take this down a notch. And he kind of had to relearn. Which, this is already a guy well into his 60s who was kind of like, okay, how do I keep myself going here?
Yeah, that's good. Do you know what? He sounds like a really interesting story. I'd like to know more about him. I don't know if there's maybe a book to be written there. I'm not writing it, but he sounds like a fascinating guy.
It feels like you get a real good history of the industry, of that kind of time period. And so late 60s, 70s, he starts to just get the odd TV job just to sort of, he's earning a living still. And boom, Are You Being Served?
Yes.
Let's deal with the fact that he left the show.
So was that just, I sort of assumed that was not necessarily that he died, but that he needed to retire and wasn't well, perhaps?
Yeah, pretty much. His wife died. That was a big, she'd been in ill health for a while, and I think he'd been caring for her. And when she died, he basically went, right, I'm done, I'm retiring. He was depressed, to read between the lines. And so, fair enough, but David Croft and Jeremy Lloyd kind of went, let's just write the next series, let's keep Mr. Granger in, give him a bit of time to work, and maybe he'll want to come back to work, we'll see what happens, blah, blah, blah. So they wrote the script with him in it, and then before they got a chance to do any of that, he died. He died about 3 months after his wife did. 72 or 73 when he died, so it's not...
Right. Not that old. Well, look, I tell you what, we'll talk about the replacements later on. So let's park that for now. We'll come back to that.
So we are now 6 minutes into the episode.
We're doing really well.
And we've established all our principal characters, and we've set up the hierarchy.
Not quite all the hierarchy yet. We need to get to the next level of hierarchy.
Certainly, yeah. Yes, we've set up the shop floor. That's what we've done. And it's a really lovely job. We've had a lot of fun with it. Some jokes, a bit of banter, set up all the characters. If you've never seen the show before, you'd know what's going on. But the reason they're really nailing it today is because they're going to mess with it later on. So all that hierarchy stuff is being really, really highlighted.
You like this, don't you? You like this writing.
I do, yeah. And the next step of that is... the next level of middle management. The next
level in the hierarchy. So basically we've had this scene where Mrs. Slocum tells Captain Peacock to get stuffed. I'm going over your head. And she goes to Rumbold's office. So Rumbold is the floor manager. He has his own office. He's not a floor walker.
What is a floor walker? What does Captain Peacock do? He says, just the gentleman's apartment is over there, sir.
Yeah. Overstaffed. This entire operation is madly overstaffed. This is why department stores have gone bust. You think Jeff Bezos is playing a floor walker? No. So speaking of incompetent management, we cut now to a new scene in Rumbold's office. So Mr. Rumbold's basically trying to referee this argument, and he's taking notes. I like the fact that he's writing everything down. I could relate to that, but he's not understanding it. There's a bit of wordplay between nicking knockers and knocking knickers. Oh, funny.
Yeah.
But the man's incompetent.
Yes.
But he's in charge because he's in charge. There you are. That's it. That's the British class system in a nutshell.
I don't think I ever really liked Mr. Rumbold as a character. That's nothing against Nicholas Smith's performance, but I just think it's an extra layer of middle management that we don't need. Or if he is the incompetent kind of upper class twit kind of character, he never quite gets there. He gets things wrong, he mixes things up, but it's never funny. And I don't know, let's compare it to It Ain't Half Hot Mum, where we have the upper class officers. One of them who is a total twit, and the other one who is a bit more competent. But, and it's like you're coming up against this management that are there not because of skill or expertise, but because of birth or whatever. Yeah. And I just don't think we ever get that with Mr. Rumbold. He either needs to be kind of further the other way and be a ridiculous posh twit kind of character, but he's a bit too real. Like he's really trying and he wants to do a good job. Yeah. And he also is very worried about losing his own job and his own position and his own kind of hierarchical thing.
Well, they work for a capricious leader, don't they? So,
yes.
We'll get to young Mr. Grace in a little while, but he seems erratic to say the least.
Yeah, so I don't know. The Rumbold character just never sat right with me. And I also feel like he doesn't do enough. I think Mr. Rumbold is a 2 episodes a series character. 2 or 3 episodes a series. as is young Mr. Grace, as is the maintenance man, whichever one it is, and depending on the series.
Yeah.
These are characters that don't need to be in every episode, but that is not the David Croft way.
But I've got my coloured bead and I'm going to use it. No, it was Jimmy Perry, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
a nice visual analogy for how this is written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick mention of the maintenance man, Mr. Harmon, in this case.
Yeah, so in this case, it's Arthur English, isn't it? But
Yes.
he's not the original maintenance man. It's Mr. Mash. Who plays Mr. Mash in the first series?
Larry Martin. He's in the first 3 series.
First 3 series, right, okay.
Yeah. And Larry Martin was again, just one of those people who we saw him in our Christmas episode of Rising Damp. He was the postman. Not the postman. He was what was he, the milkman?
Yeah.
Come around for his Christmas box. So, he was just a character actor in that sense. He has connections to the Croft verse. He played Private Walker in some of the radio series of Dad's Army. So after James Beck had died.
I'm sorry, I'm not just going to let this recording roll on and allow Croft verse. I'm not. That will not stand.
I'm surprised it took me this long to say it. I've mentioned him so many times.
Is that a thing? You didn't just make that up. Is that a thing?
No, I just said it. I don't know. I'm creating it.
Anyway, so Larry Martin plays Mr. Mash in the first 3 series.
Which he left because he had a role in a show called Spring Autumn, another sitcom, which he had a slightly better role in. And so he just went, I'm doing that.
And he's replaced by Arthur English, who plays... it's nominally a different character, but it's basically the same character, right?
It is, but... Interestingly, and we're going to talk more about character changes, cast changes. Mm-hmm. Arthur English's character here, I think, is more well remembered and associated with the show, even though he was a few series in. Also, much better. With all due respect to Larry Martin is playing it as a big over-the-top character. He's aged up.
He is aged up. Why did I've written that down as a note. Why is he aged up? When
I don't know. He's just got a bit of talc
actor?
in his hair or something. I don't know. But I think it's supposed to be a bit more of a cantankerous old man. Whereas Arthur English comes in with much more charm. He's basically, that is, again, he's not playing a big character. He's doing Arthur English. He's doing his Cockney, cheeky chappy.
The character is like a maintenance man. He's the lowest of the low. So he's the one that everybody else can look down on. But he's a bit of a commie. He's a bit of a, he knows his rights and he's not going to be pushed around.
There's a lot of trade union banter.
We talked about the rag trade, didn't we?
Yeah.
How we saw the shop steward in that. And I think that's a very familiar trope for people in the 1970s.
Mr. Harmon, the store is about to open. You're not supposed to be on the floor.
I'm sorry, Captain Peacock, but you might have twigged that none of the ladies and gentlemen dummies is wearing wigs, due to an oversight from display, what I am going to rectify.
Then be quick.
I would have been a damn tight quick if you hadn't poked your nose in the first place.
Don't procrastinate.
I shall look that up. And if ain't very polite, I shall probably come back and call you a very long word meaning twit.
And I think you're saying they're the lowest of the low, but also because of the unions, they've got the most power. And he's often,
probably getting paid more as well. He's
often coming round flashing the cash there. Yeah, we did overtime. Look at all this. There's quite a lot of bit of that. Whereas these guys get pulled in to do overtime and they're always moaning about money.
I'm totally on his side. This was basically me in 1998. No, I'm not doing it that way. Stick it. This is the way I'm doing it, and you can lump it. I like him. All the others are so obsequious. This is the only guy standing up for himself.
Yeah, and I think with this version of the character as opposed to the Larry Martin version, it just comes across as more real, more charming, more heartfelt. I do think it's a character that doesn't need to be in every episode. Let's pull him in when it works for the plot. But he's a nice presence. And Arthur English was a music hall performer. He was a stand-up / music hall variety performer of many, many, many years. Obviously, he's in his 50s here.
Well, we've seen him before, haven't we, in Till Death Us Do Part?
Well, he was in Sickness and in Health. He was a regular in that.
Okay.
He was one of, in the later years, one of Alf's mates.
Yeah.
But in his younger days, he had a particular character of a spiv kind of character, presumably during the war even, and after the war, when that character was very relevant. But he's a comedian / comedy performer, less of an actor. And I do think that comes across without being too disrespectful about it, because I think he brings a nice charm to the character. He doesn't feel like an actor.
I'm not sure I agree with you there, Alan. I mean, I take your point, but he has so little to do. He just comes in and delivers a few lines, and I think he delivers them, like you said. Charm is a good word. I think he's got that charm. It's not like he's got any emotional scenes to do.
There's several times where he's corpsing and laughing through lines. It's
okay, all right.
It's which you can get away with in a musical environment, but yeah, I don't know. It's a bit unprofessional, if you ask me. But yeah, he's not asked to do much. He gets away with it. Here's another credit for Arthur English that we came across recently, because he was in a children's show called Ghosts of Motley Hall.
Yes, I've watched this because it was after we'd put our Ghosts episode out. One of our listeners on Facebook had mentioned this program, Ghosts of Motley Hall, as a spiritual forebear of Ghosts. Yeah. And I watched a couple of episodes, and it's nothing like Ghosts, but it's a similar concept,
It's a bunch of ghosts in a country house, yeah.
Yeah. And Arthur English is quite good in it, actually. In fact, he's the only thing that I didn't hate about it. It wasn't very good.
It's not
but I quite like. Again, he's got charm.
But it's a real it's not a big acting performance, is it? It's just he's a really charming, kind of fun presence. Yeah. I agree.
Let's go back to the shop floor then. So Arthur English, he's brought Mr. Peacock's carnation, and without boring listeners with all the details, it's the wrong colour, and so Mr. Rumbold comes out onto the shop floor. He's going to make a speech to the team, which apparently is fine during the working day. Customers can just move to the side.
There's never any customers there. It's fine.
There's never any customers there. But then Rumbold spots this carnation. It's the wrong colour, and he completely undermines Peacock in front of everyone, which is funny because Peacock's a preen in Peacock, but terrible management. Incompetent. Man's incompetent.
But classic sitcom moment that Captain Peacock has been going on and on about everyone about their presence and how, we know that he didn't get this flower. It's really annoyed him. And then Rumbold comes in and focuses on that. He describes the wrong coloured flower as hooliganism.
Yeah,
of course, much to Captain Peacock's annoyance.
But what I like, so what we've got here is we've been building up this hierarchy, as you said. It's all been played for. This is the way things are supposed to be. There's got to be order. Everything's got to be right. And then in wheels young Mr. Grace, who just completely puts a bomb under everything.
Yes. So young Mr. Grace, who is the owner of Grace Brothers Department Store, and
but hang on a sec, Alan. When you say young Mr. Grace,
oh yes, this is somewhat ironic.
How can he own the shop if he's so young?
Well, the idea being, obviously, his father owned it at one point. He was young Mr. Grace, and now he's 112 or something. He's supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know how old the actor is, but he's obviously supposed to be anciently old.
He's a very old man. Yes. Young Mr. Grace, who is an old man, turns up looking like Colonel Sanders, basically.
I've written dressed as Colonel Sanders. That is absolutely the reference, isn't it?
Yeah, which presumably wasn't the reference in 1977. I don't know.
I wondered about that. I haven't made any notes on that. But yeah, I wondered if Colonel Sanders was a thing back then.
But basically, he's been to America to see how they do things over there, and he's decided that they can take on some of those things and make a success of them over here.
Yeah, so that's the setup for the second half of the episode. We're going American, and we fade to black with a lovely little variation on his catchphrase.
You've all done very swell.
Yes, he usually says you've all done very well.
It's a good line.
Yeah, that is a good line. Let's come back to that at the end of the episode and see how well that works out. Let's have a quick mention of young Mr. Grace.
Yeah, so he's the character. He's a frightful pervert, drunk on his own power. Never anyone's ever said no to him, and he just sexually assaults people as he sees fit.
Yeah, classic. Classic thing, really. Well, he's obviously born into the job. He's inherited this business.
Yeah,
but he's not posh aristocracy kind of money. He's industry money.
That's the interesting thing here. We talk about the class system, but he comes from a family that own a shop. He's not upper class. What he is money. He's nouveau riche. He's the equivalent of those sort of 18th century industrialists, self-made men, and that was basically what his father did. He created this Grace Brothers shop, and he's inherited it and just lived off it his whole life.
Yeah, exactly. It does seem like he's running things in a relatively stable way.
Does it?
Well,
Have you seen the second half of this episode?
But look, the shop is running. It's open. It's doing business.
It's moribund.
It certainly is moribund, though. Yeah, which is why they're trying to bring in these new tactics. But what about Harold Bennett then, who plays the character?
Mm-hmm.
He was an old man. Well, in this episode we're dealing with here, he would have been 79.
Yeah.
He's in his 70s even when the show started, and there's a bit in the Jeremy Lloyd autobiography I'll talk about later, but he says Harold Bennett came in to audition for the role, and he said, "Do you want me to do my old man voice?" And it was basically the exactly same voice as he always has. It's fascinating with Harold Bennett. It's never quite clear how much of it is character playing.
I am not. Well, do you know what? That is, I want to talk about this because I can't tell whether he is doing an excellent performance of an old doddery man or if he's just shit.
I think he's an old doddery man. He was a man who was kind of interested in acting but didn't get into it in any significant way and went off and got a proper job. And then, so when he retired, he was like, I'm going to get into acting a bit. So he pretty much started when he was in his late 60s and played old men. And he was a regular in Dad's Army. He was in several episodes of Dad's Army playing an old man, but a specific kind of named character in the village. So that was prior to Are You Being Served? So obviously they needed an old man. They thought, I know one.
Well, so I know we were going to talk about replacements later, but let's talk about this one because he doesn't make it to the end. In the last series, he's replaced, isn't he, by Old Man Grace? Is that what the character's called?
Just Old Mr. Grace.
Old Mr. Grace. So is this supposed to be his brother?
It's supposed to be his older brother who we've never really mentioned before. And is supposed to be even older than him. But he's obviously played by Kenneth Waller.
Kenneth Waller, we saw in Bread.
Yeah, so he was significantly
Grandad
younger.
in Bread.
But because he was bald, he played old men. And that's fine, and he does a good job of character acting in that sense. However, old Mr. Grace, okay, in theory, he does a lot of the same things to young Mr. Grace in terms of his sexual harassment of young women. Yeah. But it feels so different. And I think it is because Harold Bennett looks so weak
frail
and feeble that he's not really a threat. And you just think, oh, he's a silly old man who's using his money to surround himself with pretty women. Fair enough.
Yeah.
There's an occasional like pinch of the bottom kind of vibe, but but when we bring Kenneth Waller in, it's like, okay, I've got these women sat on my knee, and there's also, it's just immediately creepier and more grotesque.
Yes, that's interesting because I didn't read it that way. I found it creepy and grotesque from the start.
It is, but there is a difference. There's definitely a difference, and I think in 1972 it was fine. That character is funny. But even in 1978, when they bring in old Kenneth Waller, it didn't sit well with the people watching it. It didn't go down well, and that's why he...
Is that true?
Well, he did one series, and we never see him again. They ditched the character altogether.
Interesting. Is that just the 1980s for you? These days, you can't even joke about sexual assault these days.
I know, it's political correctness gone mad. But it wasn't even that late. I think it was late 70s when Kenneth Waller was in it. So, we cut to end of the day, and Mr. Rumbold has called everyone in to stay after work, a bit of unpaid overtime.
Yeah. What the hell's that about? I'm not staying. I've got stuff to do. I've got more important things to do.
Oh, this is a regular feature.
Oh, and it regularly winds me up, Alan.
Yeah. And to be fair, the characters are annoyed by it as well. And that's very relatable as someone who's worked in retail when you have to stay behind for some nonsense.
And also, interesting point on the set here, they've brought tables out for them to sit around for a meeting.
Tables,
like they can't. How long's this meeting going to take? Can we just stand around? But because this is a studio sitcom, they all sit at one side of the table like it's the Last Supper.
Look, it's a tale as old as time. You're dealing with a two-dimensional screen.
You never turn your back to the audience, darling.
So they are all fannying about, kept in late, and that's a problem because Mrs. Slocum's pussy needs some attention.
I hope this isn't going to take long, Captain Peacock. The last time I was late, a fireman had to climb out of my bedroom window and risk his life on a narrow ledge trying to grab hold of my pussy.
That's funny. That's not a double entendre, though. She's talking about her vagina.
What?
It doesn't make any sense otherwise. I don't think it's appropriate at a work meeting, even after hours.
No, Gareth, I've put in my notes here, Mrs. Slocum's pussy is not her vagina, and shame on you for thinking it is.
Well, do you know what? I said it was tedious and unfunny, but we're both laughing, aren't we?
We can't laugh out of it. As there's just a bit of conversation, a bit of banter here before we get to kind of the plotting elements. And we get some interesting cultural references.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, Uri Geller.
Do you know, the last time it was on, I was watching it and I was really concentrating. You know how you do. And I distinctly felt something move. So I plunged my hand in my trouser pocket, and do you know my door keys were bent double?
Uri Geller, famous Israeli spoonbender.
Yeah, famous con man, morally corrupt Uri Geller. But it's an interesting reference. We do occasionally get this odd reference, which I find fascinating because I feel like I'm watching the 50s. So when they go like, oh, you, Mrs. Slocum with that hair, you look like Cyndi Lauper. It's like, what's going on here? You know?
What?
Like stuff like that. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, Uri Geller, I guess, is a fairly 70s reference. And they have a whole fun with this double entendre of like, oh yeah. But they never at any point use the word bender. I couldn't believe it. Felt like a missed opportunity.
See, you would think this stuff writes itself, but apparently
know,
not.
there's more subtle than that.
Okay, now here's a genuine question.
Okay.
Which I don't have the answer to. In terms of a cultural slur for a homosexual, when was bender? That might not have been in usage in the 70s.
Maybe
Where
not,
does it come
I
from?
don't know. It was definitely popular when I was at school.
If any of our listeners know the cultural provenance of the term bender to indicate homosexuality, then please do write in and let us know.
Another cultural reference, we have Mr. Granger suddenly announces he wants to get back so he can watch The Bionic Woman.
Well, I hope I shall get home in time to see The Bionic Woman.
I wouldn't have thought that was your sort of programme, Mr. Granger.
Well, I want Mrs. Granger to see it. You know, I'm trying to persuade her to buy a hearing aid.
That's quite a funny line.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Yeah, and it's just a little topical reference.
So Mr. Rumble comes to the point, which is that young Mr. Grace has decided we're going to do things American style, and the first consequence of this is that we're going to use first names. Everyone's going to be on first name terms, which is jarring. It's really jarring, isn't it?
Yes. And there's a couple of names here we've never heard before, so that comes particularly for comedy fodder. Apparently we've never heard Mr. Lucas's name before.
Richard.
No, sorry, it's Dick.
It's Dick.
It's Dick.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, why don't you just say Richard?
It says Dick on his birth certificate, and that's what it was. But yeah, we have loads of fun with Dick. Mr. Humphries particularly enjoys Dick.
Listeners, he's talking about his penis.
But Dick is a funny word. I think we can establish that.
I think we can all accept the premise of the humour here.
Yeah.
Dick is a funny word. But just say Richard. Let's move on.
So, yeah, the changes that they want to bring in basically make everything more informal. Informal dress. Get out of that suit and tie.
One of the notes I'd made just generally before we got to this episode was, oh, they do like a dress up, don't they?
They love a dress up.
Oh, they love a dress up.
They dress up, often sing a song while they're doing it. There's a
lot
of choreographed musical numbers. Yeah, it becomes really part of the show. It's not literally every episode, but it's not a once a series showstopper either. They do
it's a regular thing.
It's Are You Being Served at its, what should I say, lowest common denominator. It's the weakest level of comedy. But I'm not saying it doesn't necessarily work. And it's something perhaps we talked about when we talked about Heidi High, when they kind of rely on the physical set pieces. They didn't do it very often, but it was always the weakest element whenever they did it. You just about get away with it in Are You Being Served, in that it's ridiculous kind of moment.
I don't agree. I got a little bit sick of it.
Yeah.
It stretched the credulity too far.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think in this episode, it gets away with it. This is exactly the same as German Week, by the way. It's basically American Week.
Yeah.
But it works better because German Week was like, oh, well, let's do German things for no reason. At least there's a justification behind this. Like, it's going to extend sales. It really plays in well to our breaking up the status quo kind of vibe. So I think it works really nicely as a comedy conceit.
Yeah.
You could extend this and make this the plot of the film. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's the big thing that's happening. This is they go to America and learn all these American ways, and then it doesn't work when they try and bring it back. But what actually happens is we've got 5 minutes left in the episode to
well, I'll tell you
have
what,
a bit of fun with
before
it.
we move to the next scene, because the next scene is, we'll get to that. I just wanted to finish off. So this meeting, this after work meeting, and bear in mind as I'm watching this, I'm already annoyed because feel like I've been made to stay after work and not get paid for it. And then the last thing that they have to do, as this nod towards informal Americanism is, they all have to stand up and shake hands and say, "I like you," to their colleagues. And I've written down, this is against their human rights. It's the most un-British thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's played really well, though. I actually really like, I know I've been a bit negative on Mr. Rumbold. I really like the way he does this stuff, because this kind of like completely legitimate, I believe in this and I'm completely 100% behind this. Stephen, I like you. And he believes it, and he thinks it's going to help. And I quite like that. I think
he does. He's credulous. He buys into it,
Yeah. So, cut to the next morning, I guess it's supposed to be. The department's had a makeover. The lights have been dimmed.
Every time they get dressed up, we do exactly the same thing. We get this one-by-one entry.
Yes.
They all arrive one at a time. We get a big round of applause. In the case of Mr. Humphreys, they get a big scream from the studio audience. And there is no dramatic value in this at all. This is the punchline of the show. Like you said, there's only 5 minutes left, and it's just like, okay, look at this funny outfit. And now this one. And that's it. That is this entire scene.
Yeah. We do get two people straight away up front. We get Miss Brahms and Mr. Lucas enter together from the left.
Let me tell you what I've written down here. I've written they're dressed as Sonny and Cher. What do you think? Is that accurate?
I think it's more vague than that, but I know what you're getting at. Yeah. So she is
That was my first impression before we got the close-up.
So Miss Brahms is wearing gold lame trousers and boots and a sort of evening gown type thing over the top. And probably the least extravagant of everything we're going to see.
Yeah.
That one. And Mr. Lucas is dressed as a sort of a bin man in Tunisia.
Well, he's got his shirt sort of open to the navel. And like a big thing back then was if you were a medallion man. So you'd have your hairy chest on show and a big medallion there. So that's what he's gone for.
Yeah.
I don't know how many medallions he has at home, but what has he actually chosen to wear, Alan?
He's got a Jim'll fix it. Jim's fixed it for me medallion.
A Jim'll fix it medallion. The sort of thing you get when Jim fixes it for you.
It's a weird one because, I mean, all right, that was a good like topical reference. It's funny. But where did he get it? It's not his. He's too old to have been on the show.
He's not a kid, is he? Yeah, right. he's taken that from a child.
Yeah.
Is this a BBC cross promotion? Because this episode went out. When did this episode go out? Was it 1975 or 76?
77.
Jim'll Fix It started in 1975.
So this was
still
77.
Quite a new show.
So I think it was just a nice topical reference. Like you're saying, it's playing on that idea of a medallion. Okay, what's the most ridiculous medallion I can get? He's not even wearing a shirt. He's got a denim waistcoat on. And
that's right. Yeah.
Trousers and a sort of cloth cap that always appears to be denim as well. There's a lovely moment where Miss Brahms says, "Oh, I didn't know you had a hairy chest." He goes, "Oh yeah, I've had it for years. Here, do you want to go?" And he rips it off. And it works beautifully because it looks totally real. It was great. Yeah. It's not a comedy, chest hair. But it's just a beautiful, great timing, little comedy moment. Gets a big laugh. Yeah. Lovely stuff. Mr. Granger turns up. He's dressed as if he's the captain of the bowls club.
He's dressed, he's got a sort of straw boater on and a lovely blazer. He looks like he is going to the yacht club.
Yeah, and he holidays in Eastbourne. That's what he's got.
Is that American?
Well, they were told to dress to express your personality. It wasn't about being an American.
Fair enough.
That was the whole point. It wasn't like we're not going to try and be American. We're just going to take their ideas. So express your personality.
I see.
Next up,
Mrs. Slocum,
who at the best of times is slightly eccentrically dressed, even within her uniform constraints. So she turns up. She's got a ridiculous fur coat on, but that's not the joke.
Takes the fur coat off and she's wearing a normal uniform, but it does look a bit misshapen. But it's a normal uniform.
Yes. Mr. Rumbold says, "Come on now, we want you to express your personality."
So she does the big full Monty rip.
She whips it. She was up all night cutting her tabard up and putting
Velcro on her uniform,
Yeah. Rips it off to reveal a sort of Sue Pollard outfit, I would describe it as.
That's a very good reference. She's got rainbow leggings on.
Yeah. And just lots of beads and things and
very spangly top.
I mean, it's not a good outfit in the sense it doesn't really go together or work in any sense.
No,
but there we go.
It's expressing her personality, Alan.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
So next up, the big reveal of Mr. Humphreys gets a big round of applause.
Now, normally, Mr. Humphries is the last one in,
He is.
and he
That's
gets
odd, isn't it? There must be someone else to come. We'll come back to that.
But he gets the huge response. However, in this case, where we've been set up that they're going to be dressed ridiculously,
We've seen him a lot more ridiculous than this.
compared to some of the things he's been wearing. And am I crazy, or is he wearing a T-shirt that says "I'm free" on it?
How would you get a personalised T-shirt printed in 1976?
You make it yourself with a bit of glue and glitter.
His mum's probably made it for him. They're very close.
And the joke is, of course, he says, were we getting dressed up? I just haven't got changed since last night.
So he's wearing. We've not done his outfit justice. He's wearing. You know, Elvis famously had that gold lame suit.
Yeah.
Well, he's wearing a green lame suit.
Yes. But he just looks like he's out for St. Patrick's Day. It's not that ridiculous.
Yeah. It's not the most outrageous thing we've ever seen, and a lot less flesh on show than usual when in these scenarios.
And slightly sort of Elton John glasses, but you know.
So usually, as you said, Mr. Humphries is the last. He's the big reveal, but we've still got one more person to come. Captain Peacock hasn't arrived yet. And there's a little bit of explanation because he's usually first here. He's always on time, but he's turned up in his normal work clothes. So they've sent him to one of the other departments to be reclothed.
They've sent him to the Way Out boutique.
The Way Out boutique.
Because he's going to be way out, man.
Yeah. So Peacock arrives to much hilarity. Describe what the Way Out boutique have outfitted him in.
He is wearing an orange dashiki, I guess it is, or something along those lines.
Oh, well, I've written down muumuu, but I don't, who knows?
I mean, I'm no expert in the world of tailoring, but, imagine a sort of dashiki kind of vibe. Muumuu,
he's wearing a big orange dress.
Yeah.
Great outfit, but in terms of expressing his personality, he's gone one step further, hasn't he?
Well, I guess he turned up expressing his personality and was told that wasn't allowed to go.
That's not acceptable.
He had to be more Way Out.
And so, what's he got on his head, Alan?
A great big afro wig.
He's got an afro wig on. Of course he has.
He looks like Harry Enfield in the Scousers sketch. He's got an afro wig.
It's probably the same wig. That's probably sat in the BBC's costume department for another 15 years.
Now, bear in mind, this episode went out in 1977, and he's been to the Way Out boutique. Does this represent the 1977 fashion, Way Out fashions?
I don't know, it looks more like 1967, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It looks like a Black Panther, basically.
Well, exactly. And is that just a necessary function of the audience has to get the joke?
Yeah.
And if they did this in 1970s fashions, people would just think it's a ridiculous costume. It has to be something they can recognise as, oh, that was a fashion thing.
I think you might be overthinking it. I think they just made him look stupid.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, I'll tell you what's interesting, though. This reveal, where he steps out of the lift and we see him, it's been edited to an inch of its life. It's really interesting. And I think, basically, we don't see him coming out of the lift. There's laughter, and then he's sort of 2 steps out, and he walks down. We cut to a shot of Arthur English, who gurns to camera, like he's slack-jawed, like, oh my God, what am I seeing thing, which they obviously use as a cut point for something. And then basically Captain Peacock goes straight to the phone and we get a little punchline there. But I think the laugh that they got when he was revealed was so huge that they basically had to cut out. I think he came out of the lift and had to stand there for 6 or 7 seconds while they stopped laughing. And they've had to cut it out and just so we just get this kind of tail end of the laugh. You watch it again, I think that's definitely kind of what's happened. It's such a huge impact. And it's great. It's because the costume itself is sort of less overtly ridiculous than, say, a Mr. Humphries. But because it's Captain Peacock dressed like that, it's just... And that is the episode. It's like we take our stuffed shirt and make it ridiculous.
There are 3 more things that happen in this episode, so let's crack on and push through them. The first thing is a guest appearance. A customer comes in and he's dressed almost identically to Captain Peacock, even though we've never seen any other customer look like this ever. What a coincidence. This day of all days. I guess this new marketing policy is working.
It's working, yeah.
But who plays this customer, Alan?
Jeffrey Holland.
You have trousers?
Far as the eye can see.
Then pant me, man.
Claiborne?
You call Stevie baby?
Strides for the Omi with a naff raya.
Mr. Granger just wanders up looking lost and says, I haven't understood a word for a week.
Yes, I felt his pain, yeah.
But it's funny. It's a great payoff to what we've been doing. It's silly, and it's very in keeping with the sort of tone of the show. It's all good.
Now, the next thing is we've got some prop comedy here, which is completely irrelevant to the entire plot.
I'll tell you what this is, Gareth. This is my theory. Our episode's running 90 seconds short.
Yeah.
Let's pull into the bag of props that we've got and pick one out, because it's completely irrelevant.
It's young Mr. Grace. It's like a ventriloquist dummy of him. But he's in a suit. He's not, if they had him in the Colonel Sanders outfit, that might fit.
But this prop was probably built 6 months earlier as just a filler thing. It might have been in a previous script and they didn't have time for it, so they took it out.
I think maybe Naff Raya was supposed to be the punchline of the entire episode, and like you said, they're a bit short.
But yeah, we do have this crap model gag. It's always the display model, and it's like, oh, look, it's a bra, but it moves in a funny way, or the lights flash on it, and then it explodes, and it's hilarious. Yeah. It's always the same gag in real terms. It's always unfunny. It's the worst element of every episode, and yet they do rely on it quite heavily.
Arthur English wheels it out. Everybody looks at it funny. We all stand back and watch it in action. It breaks, and then Arthur English hurriedly wheels it back out again.
Yeah, thanks.
That's it.
See you
That's
later.
what happens every time. End of episode. Oh, actually, no, it's not the end of the episode. So our final denouement of the episode is young Mr. Grace arrives, and he's been to China. So he is a capricious leader. And so... I'm sorry, I'm just remembering the line. I don't know if I've got the guts to say it. But so he looks like Chairman Mao. He's wearing that sort of blue overall. Mm-hmm. And all change, he hands out little red books to everybody, and he says,
"You've all done very well."
Yeah.
So, you could argue, I think you could argue that You've All Done Very Swell and You've All Done Very Welly are both simply national stereotypical takes on the same line. Why is one more racist than the other? It is. I don't know why, but it is.
Do you know what I think Americans do say swell? When no Chinese person has ever said...
Velly welly.
Velly welly.
I think you've nailed it. I think you've answered my question there. Yeah, that's why that's racist. Yes, of course. Thanks.
It is a funny old thing, isn't it? But I tell you what, it's not the most racist thing you ever see in Are You Being Served?
Oh no.
I just want to drop that in. There's an episode much later on in the run where they all black up at the end, basically. Apart from Wendy Richard, who is not blacked up, and it's never explained why she's not, because she's still in the chorus line, and they do a whole black and white minstrel song. And the story goes, Wendy Richard went, I'm not doing that. But they didn't
really?
write her out of it or come to some reason. They just went, okay, just do it, but not in blackface.
That's interesting.
So presumably she made a stand and everyone else went, no, I'm all right, I'll do it.
Oh, that's interesting, because I wouldn't have thought back then it would have been quite such a big deal. It's interesting that it was a big deal even then.
This was a later episode. It would have been in the 80s. So a little bit later. But
good on her.
Hey, good for her, because the rest of them do it, no problem.
Fair play to her. Okay, so that's the end of our episode. I think one thing we mentioned earlier, which we ought to come back to, were we talked about the Arthur English replacing Larry Martin. But when Arthur Brough retired, we had a replacement for him, and it felt like a different one every series. Have I got that right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the first replacement, which was really a direct replacement.
You said they'd already written the script?
Yes. They probably retooled it slightly, but James Hayter is the actor who comes in, and he plays it in a slightly different way, but it's essentially the same character. And James Hayter, an actor of long repute, but he was the star of Pinwright's Progress, which is essentially accepted as the first ever sitcom, British TV sitcom. It was made in 1946 on the BBC. He was the first ever British sitcom leading actor. So this is many years later. And he's an older man, and so he comes in. He does this series. No disrespect to James Hayter, but it doesn't work at all. And exactly why that is, I'm not sure. Are we just used to one certain thing? It does sometimes. It just as he come in, he hasn't a chance to kind of make the character his own.
Is it perhaps because exactly that? Yeah. So I'm jumping ahead here, but the next series that the character is replaced by Alfie Bass, and that seems to work better for me because Alfie Bass is doing something different. Alfie Bass is being Alfie Bass. Whereas James Hayter is just trying to be Arthur Brough, and he's not.
I think as well, for me, Series 6 was a real low point. Like, the first 5 series, it's like, okay, we've set the standard, we know what we're doing, it's all fun, and okay, we're sort of 30-odd episodes in, is this getting a little bit tired now? And so, not just because of that character change, but I think this is a kind of a low point. Alfie Bass coming in Series 6 is a real injection of something. I think he really brings something new to it, and it kick-starts it. And then after that, it's a sort of slow tail off towards the end. But it's not a simple, this just gets worse as it goes along. It actually, there's always some highlights, and then there's just like, okay, is this just tired now? Is this just kind of we're doing the same rather than it being worse? So we get Alfie Bass. He moved on as well.
So he's replaced in Series 8 by Benny Lee, who plays Mr. Grossman?
No, not exactly. He's replaced by a man called Milo Sperber.
Whoa. Have I missed this?
He's in the first 4 episodes. He then went, why am I doing this? They're basically not writing the character for me. I'm not bringing anything to it. Left. So they brought in Benny Lee to finish the series.
Halfway through the series?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like it was very amicable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, they're not making any effort with that character. He's just a background character.
Yeah.
Not a background character, but he's not Mr. Granger. And then after that, they just went, what's the point? We'll just put Mr. Humphries as the senior salesman and we'll move on.
I'll tell you what, well, you haven't mentioned, in Series 8, Trevor Bannister leaves and is replaced. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah, so Trevor Bannister, as we sort of mentioned, left because he had other commitments, and I think he just had enough of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so they replaced him kind of like for like with a young man, played by Mike Berry.
Now, Mike Berry, I don't know that name, but I didn't really recognise him. But he seems younger. He seems like he is actually the right age for that.
Well, to be honest, by the time he came in, he was late 30s. But he looks a bit younger.
Well, what the hell do I know then?
Yeah, but he looks a bit younger. Yeah, I think he was 38
He's definitely more baby-faced.
And I think he also plays it younger. He actually plays it in a bit more of a sort of slightly playful, I'm just a kid
Well, maybe
kind of
that's what I'm responding to. Maybe it's his good performance that's making me think that.
I think he gets short shrift. I think they don't write the character like they did for Mr. Lucas. He's just there to throw in the odd line. I'll tell you what as well, by the end, Miss Brahms is getting short shrift as well. I think she becomes a real background, just set up Mrs. Slocum character in the last few series. She doesn't get much to do on her own. It's a shame. But Mike Berry was a pop singer. He had a couple of hits in the 60s. He was as a young man. Not like a huge name, but he was a pop singer. That's what he was.
A solo artist?
Yeah.
I don't know the name. Okay.
Just singing ballads and stuff like that. And then turned to acting, and just before he did this in Are You Being Served, he was in Wurzel Gummidge. He played the dad of the kids in Wurzel Gummidge.
Okay.
So maybe that will connect with you somewhere.
Well, I remember Wurzel Gummidge is probably the first programme I remember wanting to watch. Oh, it's Saturday night, Wurzel Gummidge is on. I was really excited about it. But I was very young.
You would have been young, yeah. So he did that and Are You Being Served, and that's pretty much it, really. I want to talk about Jeremy Lloyd, who is the writer. I want to do a bit of detail on that. Because, we've dealt with David Croft and Jimmy Perry, that partnership, before. And we talked a lot about Jimmy Perry, and we said we'll deal with David Croft later. Well, I'm doing the same again here, because I wanted to talk about Jeremy Lloyd, and it's too much. We've already got too much to talk about. So we'll deal with David Croft. We've got so many opportunities. We will talk about him another time. But Jeremy Lloyd, fascinating character. And I actually got hold of his autobiography. His biography is called Listen Very Carefully, I Shall Say This Only Once.
Brilliant.
My autobiography by Jeremy Lloyd. So, I read that a couple of times, and it's fascinating. If you can get a hold of Jeremy Lloyd's autobiography, read it. If you're all interested in kind of showbiz biographies, it's Alan Partridge-esque.
Right.
But I think he knows what he is, and he has a sense of humour about it. He's kind of a ridiculous character. But
you think it's knowing?
He's knowing enough, just enough. It's hard to even know how much to believe, because everything in the book is an anecdote that is designed to get a laugh. It's built for comedy. He's a comedy writer, right?
So he's right, yeah, exactly. He knows what he's doing.
But how much is the truth being, manipulated for that purpose? Who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of basic truth to it, but he's telling a story. Right. And it's fantastic. I mean, it goes through his childhood. It's not a great thing for if you want to really get down to the nitty-gritty of how they wrote the show and the behind the scenes. There's not a lot of that.
You like that, but most people want a story.
Yeah. His explanation of how they wrote the show was Me and David Croft, we sat down. One of us would take a writing pad. We would just go back and forth and write everything down. And then we'd swap places and just write. And when we hit 28 pages, we'd stop. Right? So, which makes sense. But, like, his life is ridiculous. And I couldn't quite get a handle on, like, where he was in this class structure that we deal with in Britain all the time. He had a sort of awkward childhood. His parents were absent and he was raised by his grandmother. He lived in his teenage years. He lived with his grandmother in a care home, and so like everyone he knew was old people. He had these weird influences on him. But he was popular because he was a young man. He was handsome. He could dance, and so he danced with all the old ladies.
Right. Yeah.
He went to boarding school for a while, and his description of that is as bad as boarding school, always sounds.
Yeah.
But it's like he was raised too rich to have like a trade, but too poor to get a serious education, and so he's sort of fallen in the middle somewhere. Not that great academically, blundered between jobs. He goes, and then I tried this for a while, and then I did this, and then I did this, and I tried this. But in the way that you can only do if you're not worried about starving to death.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get a job and you keep that job even though you're crap at it and it's a bad job.
Even though you hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really couldn't figure out kind of where he falls on that. But he found his home as a salesman. And like I say, he seems to be a charming guy, very personable, can talk to anyone. That's his skill. So he was a good salesman. Somehow fell into being a comedy writer. Like, it's not very well explained. But he just started writing and then someone did this and then he got a job doing this, blah, blah, blah. Ended up acting in sketches as well, just because, we need someone to play a posh twit in this. And that's his words. Yeah. Like, he played posh twit. That was what he did. He was good at it. He looked like a posh twit. He behaves like one, so it was easy for him to do. So no aspirations to be an actor, really, or a writer. Off the back of that, ends up in America because he ended up as one of the writers/sketch actors in Ronan Martin's Laugh-In.
Jeremy. Yes. Over here in America, we call a man who is short-sighted myopic.
Yes.
What do you call such a man in England?
Prime Minister.
But all his anecdotes are like, I was in Cannes shooting a film. I was a little bit part in this film.
Yeah.
We were shooting it in France. And I bumped into this old friend who was looking after a yacht for a millionaire. And so we had a party on the yacht and everyone loved me because I was doing the yacht parties. And it's like I need more information than that.
Yeah.
What do you mean you bumped into a friend who was looking after a yacht?
There is charm, but you still, you've got to be in the right place at the right time, haven't you?
But then he seemed to just connect with people. And so he'll meet them again 10 years later and immediately like have a great relationship with them. And then they'll go, hey, do you want a job? Like that seems to be what he does. A fascinating character.
Really interesting.
Now, he left America. He decided to stay in Britain because he had just married his wife, a young woman by the name of Joanna Lumley, who he'd met through his acting work. And she was staying in Britain, so he decided to stay in Britain for her. And he met David Croft because of the sitcom It's Awfully Bad for Your Eyes, Darling, which we have talked about briefly last time we talked
mentioned
about
that. I remember that, yeah.
It's Joanna Lumley is one of four women. Four women share a flat. Hilarity ensues. It's modern. It's 1971. They're young.
Imagine that. No husbands. Imagine.
Crazy. And it was written. It's interesting. Written by Jilly Cooper.
Yes, I remember this. Yeah.
But they obviously didn't trust Jilly Cooper to kind of like, she's not an established sitcom writer, so we better bring in someone who knows how to write sitcom. Who do you bring in when you need to help with the sitcom structure, Gareth? You bring in Christopher Bond. The scab, Christopher Bond.
The scab, to the Man Born scab.
So who was brought in to help structure To the Man Born and then ended up scabbing the writer.
Yes.
But anyway, that was a sideline. But Jeremy Lloyd is in that, and he plays the boyfriend of Joanna Lumley.
It was a super party. The other girls, of course, are absolutely green with envy.
Well, I'm not surprised, really, darling. After all, having a famous actor for a boyfriend does give you some sort of status, I suppose.
Oh, don't be silly, Bobby. Not everybody recognised your nose in the corner of that Captain Birdseye commercial.
Oh.
I see.
Now, when the series was conceived, they were married. By the time they filmed it, they were divorced.
Oh, wow, that didn't last very long.
But they seemed to get on all right. It was fine. So they seem to still, like, they had a good relationship many years later, even. Which, again, is very Jeremy Lloyd. It's like, that's what he does, right? Anyway, that's it for Jeremy Lloyd, really. He did that, and in his explanation of how he got David Croft, he called David Croft and said, I've got an idea about a sitcom in a gents' clothing store. I used to work in one. I know all about it. Great, let's have a meeting. Boom. That's it, right? They had a meeting. They developed it a bit.
Charming.
David Croft came up with the idea of having the females there as well to kind of create the conflict. Boom. And then when that show finished, he goes, "Hey, David, what about French Resistance?" Great. That's it. If you read his autobiography, that's his description of how they come up with Hello, Hello.
That's great.
That's that, and it's a fascinating read just as a life story. I would recommend it.
What's it called again?
Listen very carefully. I shall say this only once.
Brilliant. That's great.
Yeah, so there's loads of legacy items of Are You Being Served to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think we've already talked so much. I think perhaps we could do them as separate elements and kind of do bonus episodes.
We've got, I'll list it. We've got film. We've got Grace and Favour, which was we already mentioned that briefly. We've got the American pilot. Was it a pilot or a series?
They did a pilot, which then didn't get picked up. There was also an Australian version.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not much to talk about with the Australian version. It was a like-for-like remake. They used the same scripts, apart from one that they rewrote.
Well, I think what we decided to do was do a bit of a bonus episode on the film and Grace and Favour. So hopefully, if things go to plan, then that will come out after our series. So listeners, keep your ears peeled for that.
I'll tell you something else I want to talk about as well. The BBC, as part of their sitcom revival thing in 2016, did a remake or a reboot of Are You Being Served, which was set sort of several years later with the same characters. It's different actors.
Different cast.
Oh, I want to talk about that. Let's do that as a separate thing.
Let's do an extra episode. We'll do a bonus episode after this series, and we'll cover all that, the legacy of Are You Being Served.
But I think this says a lot. There's so much for us to talk about. We're going to have to break it down a bit more. Yeah,
I think we've gone into loads of detail. Yeah, our listeners will be the judge, but I don't think we've been. There's been lots to talk about. I don't think it's been dull.
Yeah, and honestly, I got a lot more out of Are You Being Served than I think I expected to. I think actually watching the sitcom, definitely I would have been happy with 5 series instead of 10, frankly. I think it does wear thin, but it's always fun. And the characters are just really well done. It's classic David Croft. It's just, he seems to nail the casting every time. Well, maybe not every time, but and it's great stuff. It was fun to watch and relatively easy to watch as well.
Yeah, I think that's true. I remember saying this when we watched Heidi High. I just watched loads and loads of episodes, and whilst it was a little bit repetitive, it was fun to be around. I never. Do you remember when we watched Keeping Up Appearances? And I was like, I'm so sick of this woman. I never felt like that watching Are You Being Served. It was perfectly pleasant to have on.
And let us not forget, we say this every time, but it's worth repeating. If you were watching these 7 or 8 episodes a year, it wouldn't feel as repetitive.
Yeah, exactly.
And it played really well overseas. It had that huge international reputation. Like when we talked about Keeping Up Appearances, it just plays well. Why? Who knows? It's so rooted in British class structure, but Americans love it. I think there's a real camp sensibility to it that people respond to. It's got a real gay subculture vibe. It's like when I went to see Sue Pollard live, and everyone in the audience was like gay men in their 40s and 50s. It's like that. If you go to an Are You Being Served fan club, it's like that's the crowd, right?
That's what we're looking at.
For whatever reason.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this analysis of Are You Being Served. What are we doing next week, Alan?
Something quite different. We're going to do No Job for a Lady.
No Job for a Lady, which is a political comedy starring Penelope Keith.
Penelope Keith becoming a lady MP when that was still notable, which was like 1992.
Yeah, well, we mentioned this when we covered New Statesman a couple of years ago. And since then, it's something I've been wanting to watch. I don't remember it. I don't remember seeing it. I'm really looking forward to watching it and getting stuck in. Right. Thanks, everyone. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook at the British Sitcom History Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at BritComPod. And if you'd like to watch some of these podcasts with video clips included, then go to our YouTube page and you can find everything there, British Sitcom History Podcast. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week with No Job for a Lady. Bye.
Bye.